Hello, how are you doing? Good seeing you every week. Well, we're going to get started. We've started a new process. We want to start exactly at 7 o'clock because we're actually producing things now. So I'm very excited about that. My name is Dr. Willie Miles. I am the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation located in Atlanta, Georgia. And folks, we're still doing great things here. I'm just really so excited about the exciting work that we're doing in the greater Atlanta area and throughout the country, basically. I want to thank each of you all for actually tuning in to us every week to hear this most informative information that we have for you. Again, we are very excited to bring this to you. And for those who are not aware, guess what? We finished our series tonight. We finished our mental health series tonight. I think we had 5 sessions this month on mental health and basically children's mental health. So our goal is to make sure, again, that we're giving you as much information as possible to make sure that you are informed, not only informed, but so you can also become better parents, better caregivers, and just overall better people. Better people. Again, this is our last night of the series, and we're just really excited about. I do want to share with you all to take a look at, well, don't look tonight, at our website. We're actually updating our website and bringing on all of the live streams that we've done for the entire year. We're bringing those on and they're going to be available to you. So I do want to share with you, while they're free, you better try to look at them now because we are looking at some marketing strategies where you may have to end up start, if you're going to look at them on our website, you may have to start paying a small fee and then we'll issue a certificate once you register for it, look at the video, and folks, you'll get your certificate at the same time. So maybe for another couple of weeks they'll be free, but the cost will be minimal, of course. We're very concerned about, of course, COVID and people not working and so forth, and also want to make things available to foster parents. Hi, Jackie. How are you doing?
Good evening, Dr. Miles. I'm well, and you?
I'm glad you made it on. I was kind of worried you're not going to show up, and I said, Lord.
Oh, no, I never do that without
Okay.
warning.
All right.
I'm here.
So I was just making you aware that in another week or so, the website is going to change a little bit, and we're actually editing all the videos to look much better than they're looking now. We are making sure that the new videos will be uploaded also. So, okay, folk, get your jump start. That's good news for us. I do want to share that next month, folk, we have some great things happening. Next month, our whole month is called Children Are Our Priority series. So on April 3rd, now next week we're not going to be here, Jackie. Next week we're going to, we worked out 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to take that week off. So on 4/13, the topic will be tantrums and meltdowns, not the child, but you. All right. So
I could have used that one.
It's called Tantrums and Meltdowns, Not the Child, but You, the Effects on Children. On 4/20, these are Tuesday nights. What the world looks like through what the world looks like through a child's eyes. It's about perspective. It's about perspective. What the world looks like through a child's eye. It's all about perspective. Folks, those two are going to be awesome. We're very excited to announce also, Jackie, that on April 24th, folks, mark your calendars. The announcement will come out next week. We're going to host our first Children Are Our Priority virtual summit. Yay, yay. It will be on Saturday, April 24th. It's called Children Are Our Priority Virtual Summit, the first annual one. The registration, there are fees associated. It's not going to be on Instagram. It's going to actually be on Zoom. So we're asking for the registration fees are $50 per person, 2 persons for $75, and a group of 5 is $200. So folks, start getting your teams together. I mean, get your teams together to get that group rate of $200. And folks, this is nothing for what they're going to get. You're talking about a morning session, a general session that deals with children issues. We have awesome speakers, and we're going to have 4 breakout sections. We're going to have 4 breakout sessions, Jackie, and that's going to be awesome. The 4 breakout sessions will deal with, the one will deal with your past traumas unhealed shows up in your children revealed.
Mm,
Okay, so folk, we only have
that's loaded.
100 slots. Now I'm hoping we can fill those, but folk, don't take a chance. So when those announcements come out, you need to register. So the breakout A, your past traumas unhealed, shows up in your children revealed. And breakout B, parenting biracial children. Is it a matter of black and white?
Mm,
Parenting biracial children. Is it a matter of black or white?
that's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Breakout C, fostering and adoptions to meet your needs or theirs.
Okay.
And the last one, our children's education. Why do we trust others with this important task? So,
Yes.
folks, keep your ears and eyes open, and please share it once we have published it. Our first Children Are Our Priority virtual summit, called a conference. You can call it a workshop. Call it what you want, but we're calling it a summit, folks. And we want you to register soon. Again, we only have about 100 seats available to you, and we're hoping that we can fill those. And if we don't, Jackie and I have already said, guess what? We'll just do what we have to do. If we have 2 people, just like the church, whomever shows up, we're going to do it.
Yes.
All right, Jackie, so you have any announcements from Florida? What's happening there, up there, down there?
Things are pretty standard here. Schools are still trying to figure out how to adjust. There's certainly reports of children and some of the things we're talking about, trauma, how we're going to handle it going back in the fall. So again, these workshops and the things we're talking about, I hope people realize how important they are and how timely they are. If they haven't dealt with them, Dr. Miles, they will be dealing with them. So I hope that everyone joins us. 100 is not a lot of slots.
Guess what? I see a friend of mine who's on here tonight. He is from Sierra Leone. He's a recording artist. His name is Icon. I know you've been trying to reach me, been real busy, but I'll get back with you this evening. Trust me. But he's on, and folks, they're 4 hours ahead. 5 hours ahead of us. So it's now 7 o'clock here. So it's 12 o'clock midnight there, and he's joining us. So that shares with you how far-reaching we are for people who want to hear us. They'll stay up to midnight to hear us, and some of our cousins in America. Anyway.
And Dr. Miles, it also talks about how universal these topics are.
Exactly.
I hope that our audience is sharing at least what they're hearing with friends and family, because trust me, you have friends and family who need this information. So we hope that you will start to invite them to join us. Exactly.
And it ain't for us. It's for them. It's for them. So
it's for our children.
Yeah, I'm really ready for a, let me just do a recap. I have a little time still. People, I hope you're just excited as I am about the Children Are Our Priority virtual summit. I'm just so excited, Jackie. And Jackie's going to be involved in it. She'll be leading one of those symposiums. Of course, I'm going to do one. And we have some noted PhDs who have studied the field for a long time for all these topics, Jackie. So we're just very excited. And we're going to have a great plenary session group leader. By 12 o'clock that Saturday, we're done.
Okay.
We're done.
I love it.
And they get
useful
certificates.
Information, networking with others, and done by 12.
Oh, and by the way, you'll get some nice certificates for attending. Now, please be reminded, those are not CEUs, but they're just regular training hours. So you get 4 training hours that day. Also, Jackie and I decided that we would also do, because, it's kind of amazing. January was just here. Now we're planning for the fiscal year. June is almost here.
Yes.
And many people in our audience, Jackie, have a requirement to get training hours by June 30th.
Right.
So we know some of them are slow. Some of them procrastinate. So we'll have this summit for you in April. Jackie, guess what? Are you ready for this?
I am.
We're going to have another summit in May. Okay. That's going to end our year out. So we'll give everybody an opportunity to train. All right? Okay. So, well, Jackie, let's get busy. Let's get busy. Before I begin, I'm sorry. I'm talkative tonight. We just celebrated, for those who are believers, Palm Sunday. And Easter's coming up here. Easter's coming up. Miss McQueen, I got you. It's going to be all over. It's going to be on internet. It's going to be email. It's going to be everything. But I'm glad you mentioned email, Miss McQueen. If you all would like to receive our newsletters and emails from us, which has a lot more information, please just inbox me your email address. I want it anyway. So please inbox me your email address, and we'll include you on our email list. Now, we're presently broadcasting. Am I right? Am I right, Jack? We're on Twitter.
Right.
We're on Facebook.
Instagram.
We're doing, and where else?
Instagram Live.
And of course, it's from like, and now we're going to be moving to another platform, which is going to be Zoom. We're going to do Zoom, and we're going to do Facebook Live, folks. So just get ready. All right. Okay. I'm going to breathe now. So
and I'm going to see
I'm
how
ready.
I can mute so I can take care of the noise you're hearing in the background. Go ahead.
All right. We're now going to start on our discussion tonight on PTSD. We're ready. All right.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to get started.
Okay, so we use a lot of acronyms in our industry, so we want to make sure that everyone understands PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Dr. Miles, why don't you start by just giving us some history?
You know, what's interesting, Jackie, is that many people hear PTSD and they normally think about somebody who's been in a war zone, or they think about somebody who, who had a breakdown or something. And that's, those older kinds of thoughts about PTSD. But PTSD, Jackie, we've been fighting for this for many years. I recall about 20 years ago, we would not actually do a diagnosis on a child for PTSD.
Okay.
We would not do that.
Wow.
We wouldn't do it. But then we started dealing with brain injury.
Okay.
And that's how we started actually saying that children and really anyone can have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
And let's talk about what this disorder is. Now, what's very interesting about PTSD, and many of you all know like what it is for adults, it's the same kind of, Jackie, symptoms for children. Of course, the children are going to act it out a little bit differently, right? And so post-traumatic stress disorder is any event that causes life-changing actions. Any event,
wow.
And I'm going to even add stressful event that causes life-changing activities in your life. Give an example, and I'll get into it also about the history of it. Jackie, for years we try to tell our colleagues, and the diagnosis for children with PTSD is maybe about 15 years old, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not sure, but we had argued for years that yes, if you live now, I want you to think about where people live. All right.
Okay.
If a child hears a gunshot, the child could have PTSD.
Wow. Wow.
If a child is see someone get hit by a car, the child could have PTSD. If a child witnessed someone being killed, the child could have symptoms of PTSD. And so, but when we think about PTSD, we think about like extremes. But guess what? Poor children and poor environments, guess what? They hear gunshots all the time. They see people getting fights all the time. They see a whole lot of stuff. But see, it's not just that also. It's not just, seeing these trauma things. It is being denied food, traumatic. Not sure whether or not you're going to be in one house today and gone tomorrow, traumatic. A death, a grandma's death is traumatic. A mom's death, a sister's death. So we never thought about it in those terms, right?
Absolutely.
We said, oh, no, they just, they're just children. We're going to talk about the myths in a few minutes. Okay. But 15% to 43% of girls will experience a trauma. Well, Jackie, this is what the data says, but I really do think that we all experience traumas.
I was going to say, I think most of us certainly do experience some form of trauma, at some point in our lives. So, agreed.
Yeah. At some point in our lives, we've had something that go on, and some of this stuff is kind of interesting about, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself on how to deal with it. But in many of our families, Jackie, they say, don't tell nobody, keep all these secrets. But don't you know that having the secrets enhances or exacerbates PTSD?
Yeah, the trauma. And
Go, I'm sorry.
we've missed a few things because I think some of the things that you would share about events that cause it, right? Like you talked about children and teens can have it.
Right.
But then some of the other research in terms of the events that cause it. Could you share a few more of those? Because I think it's really important for those listening to know that maybe things that we don't think can cause PTSD too. For instance, I'm seeing things like sexual or physical abuse.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Well, Jackie, well, let me just blow your mind for a second before I even give you those. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. COVID.
Mm.
There are going to be so
Certainly.
many children and people who are experiencing PTSD when it's over.
Yes.
And some are experiencing it now.
Right.
And if you look at the definition is any event that is life-changing, right?
You know what's interesting here on your list? Car crashes.
Yeah.
Car
Yes.
crash. Been in an accident. How traumatic. In hindsight, you can see that for a child.
Right. But I want to mention COVID because it's relevant to us right now.
Right.
And many families, children are experiencing the anxieties right now. And many are like, Jackie, think about yourself. I am worried about going out without a mask.
Right.
And I'm really triple worried about being around a whole bunch of people.
Right.
Guess what? Those are all the symptoms of PTSD.
Wow.
Afraid to go out, afraid to be around people, you isolate. I mean, those are all the symptoms. And what happens is that children, now we as adults say, well, we know what it means, right? But think about what a child would think.
Right.
Like, oh, don't go outside without the mask. Don't cough on people. Don't let people cough on you. Stay away from people.
Or not being able to go to school.
Yes.
Right? So
yes.
You can't go to school and not knowing when you will.
Right.
Right.
And what's so interesting about this, and I want to stay here on the COVID thing for a second, is that, Jackie, it is amazing that we're talking about COVID and PTSD because we're talking about not just going to school. It restricts us from everything it has had us to alter our life. And that's what those events do. Visiting family. Yes. Grandparents. Right. Aunts, uncles. Right. Let me talk about a few more. Okay. Violent crimes. Crimes. Even disasters as floods. And that's why, I think you mentioned several times, Jackie, that parents need to be very cautious about what they let their children watch, because unless you explain it to them, just watching a flood on television, having a child watch a tornado and say, oh, my grandma lives in Mississippi. Oh my God, I hope are you with me? Yes, absolutely. Creating all kinds of traumas, fires. But I don't even have to go that far. We can talk about abuse. Children who are in foster care. Being separated from a parent. Certainly. Exactly. Especially in volatile situations. Traumatic. That's most certainly traumatic. It is life-changing. But not only that, but that trauma follows them. Now let's talk. I'm sort of like jumping over things, but I'm going to integrate all of this, and you're doing great at following. So just work with me. There is nothing mystical about dealing with the trauma. Okay. Are you ever this? It's just amazing. We as therapists, we as practitioners use what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. And Jackie, all it is we talk to the client. We talk them out of situation. We listen to them. And so parents who tell children, keep that secret now, you're exacerbating the PTSD. So the way we deal with it, we talk about it. The way we deal with it, we talk about it. Okay. This is amazing. All my Sierra Leone friends are coming on. Grovius is now. He's another artist. He must have heard Wiz was on. So Grovius, thank you. I mean, he actually was going to work with us on a fundraiser. So I got two from Sierra Leone who's visiting with us tonight. Okay, welcome. All right. So we're talking about PTSD. I mean, we're talking about things that cause it. But Jackie, isn't it kind of amazing that the things that cause it are kind of like things in everyday life? Right. Which speaks to the fact that we've been ignoring a lot of PTSD in our children. It's gone unaddressed. How about this? Car crash surprised me. How about this? Divorce. That one I can understand. Separations. Yes. Half
PTSD.
half the children going staying with grandma and half staying with mom, but nobody's talking about the whys.
Yep. Because they so often think that children, they don't give them the same benefit of feelings. You know, it's as if you think their feelings don't start until they're 18.
Exactly. Now, Jack, what's amazing now, as we're doing this, we're talking about children, ready? Under age 5.
Wow.
We haven't got to the teens yet.
Right.
We're talking about these are the symptoms that children under age 5 experience. And the problem with all of this, and you say this all the time about parent education, if the parents not even aware, so they hollering and screaming and shut up and hitting and whooping and not realizing what is happening. We're going to talk about later on just some of the some of the other symptoms, because there are some real live symptoms. They're not just ordinary. Are you with me? They're
Right.
not ordinary.
Yeah.
They're extreme.
Yeah.
We talk about also, when you talk about, how about this? When a brother or sister are very, very close and one goes off to college.
Trauma.
It can be traumatic.
Right. Because
Now,
it's a major change.
Yes.
Right. Like you said, things that change, life-changing.
The good news, though, for children at age 5, they can, and I hate to use this word because, you know, they can reach normalcy with just talking to them. The problem is, Jackie, that many of these children are not talked to. I think Miss Queen got something on here. Jackie, you want to read it?
Yes, it says, how about discipline? There's a case in the news where a 5-year-old was chastised by a policeman. Right. Most said the child was traumatized. Right. And now there's legislation to, I know in the state of Florida, speaking of, to make it illegal to arrest anyone under the age of 7.
Right.
For reasons like that. But yes, of course, you're going to be traumatized.
Well,
being arrested by the police.
Let's talk about something that's even current. The George Floyd trial that's going on and the witnesses that are coming on. And some people are saying they don't even know it, but they're traumatized by it because they saw someone being killed. They saw someone die in front of their eyes.
Right. There was an EMT on also today, and I think
Yes.
she, because of her training, recognized that she was traumatized by what she had to witness.
But also, Jackie, violence can cause PTSD. Now, see, the reason we're hanging around here because we're going to give you all these symptoms, but we also want you to know that for children at age 5, it can be resolved by simply talking to them and encourage them to talk about the things they're afraid of. And in a few moments, we'll get into really about some of those actions they do. We'll talk about now some of the things that cause it. When people ask Jackie how many kids have it or if it's natural, the answer is that there are quite a few children that have it. For a matter of fact, we're talking about 3 million reports each year of children who are in protective service. I mean, that means foster care. It involves 5 million children. About 30% of those children, Jackie, will have symptoms of PTSD.
Wow.
Not
really surprising once you know what causes PTSD.
Yeah. I think you want to answer me this question. I know it's coming out your mouth. Well, how do you know PTSD from any other diagnosis? I know you're going to ask me that, right?
You know what? I was just thinking about asking you, how can you tell the difference between PTSD and any other diagnosis?
Well, they all have their unique, I'm going to use the word indicators. With PTSD, you're going to find the behaviors are going to usually be extreme. Extreme from the point of I'm afraid, bedwetting, and constantly remembering this thing, constantly remembering something that frightens. And the child will say, I recall 2 years ago, I recall when I was 2, I saw my uncle get shot. And you'd be saying, wait a minute. Let me give you a case I'm dealing with right now.
Okay.
That I didn't know he had PTSD until I actually, really began to do some intense counseling with him, because I thought he had just had, ADHD, some behavioral problems.
Okay.
But what he shared, though, he shared that he had a cousin who lived with them, a female cousin, who they both were very, very close. And he said that they were like just sisters and brothers, and he loved her. One night, she went to sleep on the sofa, had a seizure, and suffocated.
Wow.
That happened 7 years ago. But what happened is that he says that each day, now this just was disclosed to me last week. He said each day when I go through the kitchen, there's a plaque on the wall that deals with footprints. And he said every time I see it, I cry. Nobody knew it.
Right.
Mom didn't know it. I said, she died 7 years ago, and you're acting as if it happened yesterday. That's one of the signs of PTSD. When something happened a while ago, the child or the person acts like it just happened yesterday.
Right. And Dr. Miles, that also brings up, which I'm sure we're going to talk about at some point, the myths about childhood PTSD and what people think it is and is not.
Right.
So when you get a chance, I'd love you to discuss that as well.
Sure. I want to talk about also some of the things about children in foster care who probably will be diagnosed with this. Many of their cases are from 65%, Jackie, are from neglect. That means not providing for the child's basic needs. Like,
that's a large percent.
Yeah, child hungry, no clothing, living outside, living in cars, that kind of stuff. Amazing. But it's kind of amazing though. When you talk to adults and they tell their stories, guess what? PTSD.
Right. But only once you recognize it, Dr. Miles, and that again is the issue.
Right.
Not just the myths around childhood PTSD, but also around adult PTSD. If you don't know, and again, you really think it's something only associated with military or war veterans, you don't know it's for everyday people, you don't realize those are the signs you're observing.
Now, Miss Queen, I ain't gonna reach your bad words now. I'm gonna say the school should call a social worker besides the police. But she didn't say besides people. But anyway, well, maybe it's what she means, besides. I thought it was another word. So tell you what my mind.
Got it right, yes.
Tell my mind is. But the issue is, Miss Queen, you're absolutely right. But we know that all schools have insufficient funding for school social workers.
Yep.
But somehow they have sufficient funding for the SRO officers.
Yes.
Well, see, that's what we're not getting political. That's what some of the defunding we're talking about, reshifting those dollars.
Yes. And inside and outside of the schools, Dr.
Most certainly.
Because again, a lot of people can be dealing with PTSD and end up being Baker acted. Again, the insensitivities and lack of awareness. So PTSD is, I think, far more common in our communities than we realize. Yes.
10% of those children were sexually abused. And 7% have psychological or mental abuse.
Okay.
Right. So let's talk about some of the myths. Jackie, you want to tell us about one of those myths, and I'll just
Well, you already addressed on one of them, but again, let's just clarify that children don't get PTSD. That's where we started.
Right. Well, that's definitely a myth because they do get PTSD.
Right.
That's definitely a myth.
And this one I think is a big one that a lot of people deal with. You shouldn't bring it up or dig too much into the past.
That happens a lot. And I'm not saying it's cultural. I think a lot of parents say that because many parents have not dealt with their own stuff.
Right.
And they naturally assume that if you don't confront it, it'll disappear by osmosis.
Right. That was another myth. After a while, children just get over it.
Well, yeah, let's even broaden this. Now, our discussion is about children, but adults are the same way.
Yes.
You think that you have issues that if you don't address it, you say, just go away.
Right.
It goes to the back of your mind, and then someday you're driving along and it hits you.
Right. Children are resilient. Same thing,
So the key to all of this, and part of the discussion, is to make sure that you are open to discussion and make sure that you have some communications with your child. You can talk about stuff, not just always screaming and hollering and saying, oh, like, why you do this? And why you crying so much? Stop crying. Be a big boy. Grandma died. You saw it. Get over it. Well, it's not quite that simple. It's not quite that simple. I think our parents should become a little bit more compassionate.
Right. But, and I'm probably going to be a broken record today. We share with our audience that sometimes as we're going through this, we're learning, certainly me, because of course you are a professional in this field. But very often, I think, again, these are things that people don't know to identify. And I don't think PTSD is very often mentioned in the community. As we look at some of the common symptoms in children, I recognize a lot of them but I would have never put PTSD beside them.
Jackie, guess what? Don't feel alone with the common community, right? Even in the clinical realm,
Okay.
we don't diagnose children with PTSD.
Okay. All right.
And I'm saying, Now, again, we have to see the indicators, of course, right? We have to see it there. But I think, though, when I talked about knowing the roles of practitioners, knowing what the doctor does, know what the licensed person does, and so forth, the therapist is the one who really may notice it because they have to spend more time with them. And the child keeps saying, I recall when we lived in Chicago that this person used to come in the house. How long have you been living in Georgia? 5 years.
Right. Why are they
with me?
thinking about something that happened? Yeah.
Exactly.
In Georgia
Another one.
5 years ago.
You mentioned that children are resilient and that children get over it. So all those are myths. As we said, all those are myths. Let's talk about, if you don't mind, Jackie, like what are some of the causes and how can we see it in our children? I'm going to jump, audience. I'm going to jump again. Now, if you have any questions, please, share some comments with us. We'd be more than happy to address those.
Okay.
I'm going to mention the word. I'm jumping to a really farther along our discussion is comorbidities. And the question is, what are comorbidities? And what a comorbidity is, it is a diagnosis that is accompanied by another diagnosis.
Okay.
That's a comorbidity. And for our listeners, PTSD usually is accompanied by another diagnosis. And the question is, Jackie, can I get some medication for PTSD? Well, maybe you can, but you won't get PTSD. You may get it for anxiety and depression.
Right.
but it won't necessarily be for PTSD. So the issue is that most people, now with children, we don't see it too. We do see it often. We can, I don't mean often, we do see it. A child can have PTSD and still can be ADHD.
Wow.
Right? Still can be hyperactive.
Right.
You know, so the difference in the two is that with PTSD, the child keeps bringing up things like, I recall the fire. I recall daddy being shot. I recall we lived in a car. That's the PTSD.
Okay.
Post, of course, means after something has happened. It's a trauma after it happened.
Okay.
Got it? Okay.
Yes.
Great. All right. So to answer your question, yes, PTSD can be accompanied, and usually it's accompanied by comorbidities, such as with adults, Jackie, substance use.
Okay.
And guess what? With an adult, I'm going to say every time, most times when you see PTSD, you're going to see substance use.
And Dr. Miles, is that a way of trying to deal with the PTSD, like subconsciously, or in the only way they know without treatment?
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're going to see depression or major depressive disorders. You're going to see anxiety disorders.
Okay.
And you're also going to see neurocognitive problems. And neurocognitive simply deals with cognition, how the brain works, how it thinks, and so forth. So you're going to see some disorders there. So the whole point is that PTSD can have comorbidities, which includes these other diagnoses, right?
Okay.
All right. So I kind of want to go back to some of the symptoms, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at a few as well.
Okay,
can I share a few and then
yes, please.
Can,
please.
And we are both dealing with young children and teens. So I'm looking at here that says common PTSD symptoms in children and teens: avoiding situations that make them recall the trauma event, experiencing nightmares or flashbacks, playing in a way that repeats, and you talked about that a little bit, but here's something that we may not associate: acting impulsively, or aggressively. Okay.
Yep.
Feeling nervous. You mentioned anxiety.
Because Jackie, what happens is that when they're diagnosed, that comorbidity is usually seen first.
Okay.
You with me? They're gonna treat the ADHD, and then when the therapist goes in, and says, "Wait a minute, he ain't just ADHD. Right. That child is afraid to go to sleep because his mother went to sleep and died."
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Emotional numbness and having trouble focusing at school. Those are things you don't just normally, think of.
But, and Jackie, but think about it. You don't think about it when it comes to children. How can children be numb? We always think that children are just this little thing that's built, ain't got no emotions, ain't got no nerves.
Autopilot.
Exactly. But the child can feel numb. Well, Jackie, I call the numbness, I call it flat affect. And you ask the question, what is flat affect? Flat affect is when you look at a person or a child, the child is expressionless. I mean, there is no smile, there ain't no frown, there ain't no excitement, no eyebrows go up. And guess what, Jack? It's not just when you meet them, it is all the time.
Wow.
I mean, I don't care. You could be at Disney World. The child has flat affect.
Right.
That's one of the telltale signs for me.
Okay.
Because children, people laugh and smile.
Right.
If you meet an adult, Jackie, who has flat affect, you tell a joke, look at you. The eyebrows never go up. There's no excitement. There's no energy. There's something wrong with them.
Right. So that's definitely one of those indicators that you should look a little bit deeper.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So a lot of times, especially teenagers, acting impulsively or overly aggressively.
If you all don't believe this, I mean, and if we were to start being able to talk to folk without judging folk, you're gonna find that all of us had this stuff. When you start talking to people, you start talking about this would happen when I was young.
Yep.
This would happen when I was a child. Wasn't no food in the house. I had to work. And they give all these stories. And many parents say, well, just get over it. Well, it's not just get over it.
Right.
Because if we know development, we say that if he did, she did all these things, that means that they missed a stage.
Right. And
So
Dr. Miles, one of the workshop topics, of course, is what you didn't treat as an adult shows up in your children. Right. As demonstration.
They're not getting that free tonight. That's for pay. They got to pay for that workship right there. But
right, what I'm saying, that's why they need to come to the workshop.
But you're absolutely right. And it does make sense.
It does.
Since you brought that up, when I meet my clients, they talk about how bad the children are and so forth. And I say, well, behaviors are learned. And like, where were you? Not blaming them, but have them understand that their children are an expression of themselves. Are you with me?
And right, not blaming, but educating, Dr. Miles. And we have to educate. With all that is going on in our society, the trial of George Floyd, it is all about education. Yeah. Right. To your point, these are learned behaviors and patterns. And so the more we talk about it, I think the more we help society. Miss
Queen, your 5-year-old is probably ADHD. And what's going to happen, and I know the background. I'm not going to say PTSD because I don't have the rest of the information, but you're going to find that the difference between PTSD and all the other diagnoses is the child, something has happened in the past.
And I think she may be referring to the one that was arrested, but yes.
Oh, I don't know. I can't read between lines. I'm just reading what we got here. She says that the 5-year-old was over-aggressive first for a 5-year-old. So I'm saying that 5-year-olds who are over-aggressive are usually going to be, again, we said that if they're AD, they're going to be an HD sometimes too, or most of the time, because if they can't sit still, they're not going to be able to focus. And the same thing with the PTSD. The PTSD, the key thing to remember about PTSD is that the event had to occur, which is life-changing for the child. Seeing someone get hit by a car, seeing someone drown, seeing someone get shot, parents separating, parents divorcing, and no conversation. They're being left at grandma's house and picked up in 2 years.
Right.
No conversation. No conversation.
2 days. Right.
Okay, Clennis, I need you to lead me because I've gotten kind of. I can talk more, but
Let's be more specific. We've kind of gone with the older and the teens. Let's talk about under 6, because this again is a category where we tend to not really think that children are affected.
Yeah.
So, symptoms for children age 6 and younger. Okay.
All right.
Do you want
I'm
me to
trying.
start out, or are you going to cover that?
Yeah, you start out. I'm trying to look at my cheat sheet. I have some
Okay.
things that got me.
The presence of one or more of the following. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Spontaneous or cued, recurrent, involuntary, and intrusive, distressing memories of a traumatic event. Okay.
Yes.
I think you've mentioned some of that. Okay, let's give some examples. Reliving the event over and over in thought or in play.
That's
Okay,
classic.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmares and sleep problems. Okay, a lot of times we dismiss dreams. You had a bad dream, and we let it go.
So you know what's kind of interesting about that? I want to stay on there a second, because a lot of children have bad dreams, and their dreams are not, they're not usually, they could be about anything, but the kids who I'm treating who have the bad dreams, it's always about clowns. It's always about clowns.
Wow.
And they're always about something's under my bed. So I tell parents to do what I do: take their bed off the lever and place it flat on the floor. So therefore, nothing can get under the bed.
Wow.
Are you with me? The other thing is, many children don't like sleeping with closed closet doors, because they think
Because they're afraid that something's behind it.
going to come out, right?
Okay.
And what parents should do is have a conversation. Like, what do you think is coming out? Has anything ever come out? See, we assume, Jackie, that nothing's ever happened. We don't know who played in his closet or her closet. Are you with me?
Right.
Oh, and I'm in your closet. I have a classic example in Gaston County, treating a child down there. The child said, I see people walking by my window every night. You hear me?
Right.
That's what the child had diagnosed.
That would scare me.
No, guess what? They had diagnosed because they thought he was imagining it. But guess what? There's a light outside of his door, outside of his outside, you know, these street lights.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people walk by, he see the shadows.
Shadows.
But he got a diagnosis.
And can you imagine, as a young child, you could be horrified of that.
But my point is, he got a diagnosis for that. All somebody had to do was investigate.
Right.
So that's what's really wrong with him. That, but the key is, we need to listen. We need to listen to our children.
Okay.
Right.
Very important. Let's.
You under 6 still?
Say it again. Yes.
Are you still under 6?
Okay. I'm still under 6.
Okay, got it.
Becoming very upset when something causes memories of the event. Lack of positive emotions. We talked about that. Intense ongoing fear or sadness.
Classic.
Yeah. When a child is just always afraid of something, or they're always sad. And you know what's really getting to me is, as I read some of these, I'm thinking about students that you know I've observed and or taught, and how a lot of these symptoms sound familiar. Irritability and angry outbursts, very common in some of our most challenging academic environments.
Yes, amazing. You mentioned you said that, because we have a lot of children who are diagnosed with explosive behaviors. You know, it just comes out of nowhere, and the child just explodes.
But a lot of times, and I didn't have privy to all of that, a lot of times, again, if someone doesn't think that this could be PTSD, and they just go, it's personality or it's lack of discipline, oh, this child, you know, we're not, you know, we really have to start paying attention. Constantly looking for possible threats, being easily startled. That one seems obvious in hindsight.
As we're going through these, the good news is that it can be treated with just conversation.
Okay.
It can be treated with conversation. If you bring them to us, we use cognitive behavioral therapy. But parents can just talk to their kids. You know, I don't mean just one time. You're talking about.
I was waiting to get that in. You do mean ongoing.
Yes, talking them out of the fear, talking them out of whatever's bothering them. And it's kind of sad that the child has PTSD, and it's because of you, and you didn't even know it.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, that's a possibility. You know, again, I learn a lot on these shows, and you think back to behaviors. I can think back to some of mine. I'm sitting here going, maybe that time I yelled excessively caused trauma, right? You know, looking at this is quite possible.
Well, okay. I want to share with you. You said yell excessively. You don't mean one time. You mean like every day for the last 10 years.
Well, no,
but the point is, but you're right. But but again, I want to share this with you. Normally, it won't happen at a, I'm gonna use this word, rational frequency. Like we're talking about where it happens over and over and over and over, and or there's a loss. There's a loss.
Okay.
All right.
Gotcha. And again, under 6, substance use disorder. People don't think of children under 6, but that happens. Depression, major depressive disorder. Dr. Miles, I don't know if you could talk about that. Do they diagnose depression in under 6?
Yeah, most certainly. You know, years, and y'all have a story for everything. When I was actually operating child development centers in Florida, Jackie, we had a center that was for children, specifically for babies who lack the thrive to live.
Wow.
And yes, babies can lack the thrive to live. All you gotta do is ignore them, don't do anything for them. What they're gonna do, they're gonna lay there and they're not gonna make any sound. They're gonna die.
Wow.
And so how do we bring them back? We had 20 babies in ours. We constantly had babies in our centers.
Interacting with them?
Because they were abused, babies who were brought to us because they were neglected and abused at 6 months old. So what you do, I had the room filled with nice soft music. I had made sure that the caregivers would hold them certain times of the day, and we just rocked them and loved them, just loved them, and make sure that we fed them, we sang to them, we stroked their heads, and guess what? Those kids are thriving adults now.
Now, I'll tell you, you just hit another mark, Dr. Miles. 6 months.
Yeah, babies lack babies lack the thrive to live. And I'm just going to throw this out to you. And this is not made up stuff, folks. We had cases where we had a 9-month-old baby girl who had been sexually molested by her granddad. And the mom had this child and was just leaving anywhere. The child came to us lacking the thrive to live. Just lethargic, no smile, flat out affect, no smile, no nothing. Just really
9
dying.
Months old.
Dying. And so you have to love them back. You have to love them back to life. Literally.
Wow.
Plenty of food. That's the same thing for kids who are neglected with food. You got to feed them, talk to them. You got all those kind of things. Because we have all these emotions, right? We have all these senses. So if those senses not met, what happens? Why
and
live?
Again, you think about the quote unquote well babies and how active they are. So if you do have a 6-month and 9-month-old that's just not responding, again, just knowing this, I'm still in shock over this.
And I didn't mean to just point out the sexual abuse. There are many kinds of neglect. We had 20 babies at any given time, and they brought the babies to us because we were a model center, and it was state funded, of course. And it's just babies, and not only have babies, we had 2-year-olds who lack the thrive to live, and it's just neglect. And Jackie, it's not just a little bit of neglect; it's consistent neglect.
Right.
From all the areas, emotionally. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The information we get from both these sessions, and that makes me even more excited about the summit, Dr. Miles, where we can really get into details. So again, I'm looking forward to that. But just very good information. Now, keep in mind, you're a professional. I'm a professional educator, and so I'm learning things. So as a parent and as an educator. So again, I hope we're spreading the word about this. Okay.
We gotta invite those teachers. We gotta invite those teachers.
Oh, let's not start there. Yes. What teachers don't know can definitely hurt them and their students. So, and I've seen that because we start making not just assumptions about their academic abilities, but about their aptitude. And we're not paying attention.
It's not hard for us to understand what children need if we know it.
Right.
Yeah, we know when something is wrong. I'm like, the child ain't smiling, something wrong.
Yeah, but very often it's ignored. You're right. You get children at school, they come, they're disconnected. And you might say, okay, are you hungry? You want to feed them? But I'm going to say, Dr. Miles, we're not thinking about PTSD. We're not thinking about, how severe it can be and getting help. Because, of course, in these academic settings, all you care about is, can they master standard 2.1?
Right.
And what can I do to get them to master standard 2.1, irrespective of the PTSD or anything else going on in their lives? So again, getting those educators at these workshops is vital.
Jackie, what I like to do sort of as a wrap up is I like to just open this floor for some questions from our listeners. Folks, this is our last session for this series. It's called the Mental Health Series. This is our fifth week of doing these sessions. And I really enjoyed it. I hope that we've been a benefit to you all. I know Jackie's enjoyed it also. So do you all have any
Learning
questions of us regarding PTSD? Because really, we've covered a lot of stuff. And the stuff that we covered is very consistent. The consistency is these are the things that cause it. This is how you deal with it. And that's it. We don't need to go on to 7 o'clock, to 8 o'clock talking about the same thing. You all have gotten it. Unless you think I missed something.
Well, just a little bit more on treatments. I mean, we talked about them and infusing them, but not as its own topic. So a little bit on the treatments in children. You talked about cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the CBT. Okay, you talked about talk and trauma-focused style of therapy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, trauma focus is exactly what it says. And you'll find that, all right, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to say this. Don't assume that every therapist has this experience. Because they don't.
Skill sets.
They don't. So when you're looking for services, you need to ask, does this therapist have any trauma experience? All right. So the key trauma focus is exactly what I do. I focus on the trauma, and the modality I use is prolonged engagement therapy.
Okay.
And prolonged engagement therapy is about 18 weeks long. And what I do is take the person back to day one, and we do a bunch of dumping of all the stuff they've gone through. All right.
Okay.
I see my son just came on, Jackie. Leon, he has his own show now on Tagline.
Running. Okay.
Yeah. He has his Tagline, and y'all may be too old to be looking at it. It's for young folk. I don't look at it because I hear he's doing great stuff, but I'm not sure I can deal with all that stuff they be talking about. So I'm the counter to him. We're the good kids, and he's the one who young people they do. So y'all can tune into him if you like to.
Tell us the name again, Dr. Miles.
It's called Tagline. Leon, if you will, type it in if people want to check you out. I'm not sure I have it right.
Okay.
But I do want to share that this information on PTSD, folks, use it and take it with you, and don't leave home without it, because at the end of the day, children are our priority. Jackie, I do want to hype up the April series, the April
series,
and the announcements are coming out next week. It's called. He has it right here in your help me out, Jack. I don't know technology. He has it in our chat box. It's called Tagged App.
Tagged App.
And Tagged Punchlines.
Okay.
And I think it's about comedy. I think he has a whole lot of people that come on to comedy. So people, guess what? After talking about PTSD, maybe you need something to laugh about.
Yep, Tagged App and Tagged Punchlines. Yes.
Yeah. He's doing real good on that. So I'm glad that he is there. All right. So folks, we're running out of time. I got a few more minutes. Ready? Don't forget, next week, if you come on here, you won't see us. So we're off next week. You won't see us again until April 13th. That session will do tantrums and meltdowns, not the child, but you, the effects on children. And then April 20th, you'll get these announcements through email. But the biggie is April 24th, when we're having our first annual Children Are Our Priority virtual summit. There's a fee for it, and we will be doing it on Zoom. We have 100 slots available. So please consider our slots. And also, I'm sorry, go on, Jack.
Let me ask a question. What's the soonest they'll be able to register?
He's going to get it up next week. He's going to actually get the flyers out next week, and they'll have to go to the website to actually register for the classes. Okay,
and the flyers are going to be shared on Instagram?
Instagram, it's everywhere. On Instagram, I've done LinkedIn, we do emails, we do Twitter, we do, I think that's at Facebook.
Okay, and they will be able to pay online for the conference?
Most certainly. We'll be straight. All right, so folks, that's it. I'm done for the night. I'm tired.
Well, Dr. Miles, I'll tell you, some of our sessions are really packed. I think this one was really packed. I think there's so much more to PTSD. And part of my hesitation, you may have noticed today, is just really thinking, wow, you know, I've seen this and I see it all the time. So it's good to know that PTSD is not something off in the distance. It is right here. It's something that's probably existing in many households. And now we know the symptoms. We know how to better identify it. You know, Dr. Miles, we need a session on finding therapists.
Oh Lord, I'm not touching that one. You're trying to get people to come after me. No, I would I would talk about what the qualities of a good therapist. I've been trying to convince therapists to have a specialty, because at this day and time, no one needs a general practitioner therapist.
I had a similar conversation with my son about specialists in the medical arena. When you have something particular, you want people to know what you're talking about. To your point, no one wants a generalist.
Right.
Agreed.
Exactly.
And that's certainly important when we're dealing with mental concerns.
But again, the relationship between a therapist and the client is a very special one. It's very intimate, because people are telling you their secrets. People are divulging stuff they ain't told nobody.
Right.
So you can't have somebody who says, well, I ain't got time. The hour's up. Goodbye. You know, you got somebody who is sensitive.
And it's happening.
And who's compassionate and who cares.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
So Jackie, I think we're done.
Okay. Well, again, another great session. We will not see you all until April 13th. So enjoy your time. If you miss us, you can go to Instagram and look at some other videos. Maybe some that you missed, or watch some ones that you didn't miss. And our website. And the website. Yeah. Okay. All right. So happy Easter, everyone. For those who are believers, happy Good Friday. And whomever y'all I know I'll get an email. So whomever you celebrate, be a tree, I don't really care, as long as it's positive. All right. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hey, have a great one. Have a safe one, and love on your children. Please. Thank you. Take care, y'all. See you. Have a good one, Dr. Mouse. Bye-bye. Good night.